So in the last video, I was like, yo, quick side note, I'm thinking of doing a video on some of the notable players that have come to the league through the supplemental draft and kind of explaining what the supplemental draft is, how it came to be and all of that. If you're interested in that, man, just let me know in the comments section. I was a little bit surprised when y'all was like, so cool. Today we're discussing the NFL's supplemental draft. What the hell is it? How does it work? And in this video, I'm gonna quickly explain just that. So cue the Wayne. Okay, that was for the last video. Cue the Wayne. So the supplemental draft by its very nature sets up a bunch of interesting stories. Here's how it works. Any collegiate athlete who becomes ineligible to play college ball after the deadline to enter the regular NFL draft can enter this one. You know, that way they don't have to sit out that full year doing nothing. But in order to be eligible for it, you have to file a petition, and some players are not accepted. So just because you file does not mean that you're guaranteed to get in. Now the supplemental draft is obviously held after the regular draft. Regular draft's in April, supplemental draft is usually around July. And as you might imagine, a player still has to be out of high school for 3 years in order to enter into the supplemental draft. That's why players like Maurice Clarett and Mike Williams that year could not enter. They couldn't petition to enter into the supplemental draft unless their court hearing was able to strike down the NFL's age restrictions. Those hearings were not able to do that. They had to wait a year, lost a lot of money, and probably really hurt their careers. Anyway, the supplemental draft order is a little bit different than the regular draft. It's also a bit more complicated. Basically, the league breaks the teams down into tiers. There's teams with 5 wins or less, non-playoff teams with more than 5 wins, and then you have the playoff teams. Then all of those teams are entered into a weighted lottery system where the more garbage your group is, the better chance you have to get a higher pick. So it's kind of like the NBA draft. Now the rules have changed and been refined over the years, so I'm giving you the most current rule set. If you're in that 5 wins or below group, all of those trash teams are guaranteed to pick before the other 2 tiers. So this year there were 7 teams with 5 or fewer wins. Those teams will be top 7. So the initial lottery will basically randomize those 7 teams. They'll randomly get those first 7 picks. Then you bring in the next tier. You do the exact same thing with them, 8 through whatever number. Then you bring in the playoff teams, you randomize them, and then boom, you paste them on the end. That's how it goes. Now there's no TV broadcast for this or anything, so how does it happen? Well, each team submits a secret bid, basically like a silent auction. What are they bidding? Not money, but actual draft picks. They bid a draft pick, and if they win the player, then they won't have that draft pick in next year's draft. Here's an example of how it kind of works. Let's say there's a player that the Giants like, and they submit a 4th round pick for their bid. Let's say the Bengals like the same player, and they submit a 3rd round pick for their bid. The player will go to the highest bidder, which in that case would be the Bengals. Now, if 2 or more teams submit the same round, let's say the Giants bid a 3rd round pick and the Bengals bid a 3rd round pick. If that happens, then the player is going to go to whoever was the highest in the order. So the worse your record is, the better chance you'll have to be higher in the order than other teams. Now, most years there's only a few players, if any, entering the supplemental draft. So there's not a whole lot of guys to choose from. So obviously the majority of teams aren't even going to get anybody from the supplemental draft. Now the supplemental draft started in 1977 when a guy named Al Hunter, who played for Notre Dame, got kicked out of school for constantly being caught with females in his room after curfew. I guess my man had to have it. By the time he was kicked out, the filing deadline to enter the normal draft had already passed. So the NFL started the supplemental draft to pick him up. The Seahawks ended up winning the first supplemental draft bid, but Al Hunter never really did much in the league. He played 4 years in the NFL from 1977 through the 1980 season. During those 4 years, Al only rushed for 715 yards and 4 touchdowns. And despite the fact that Al didn't get to catch a whole lot of passes out of the backfield, when he was asked to do that, dude was a very productive receiver. The man only averaged just under 7 receptions per season, but he still put up 331 yards in his short career, and he averaged 12 yards per reception. Al ended his career with just over 1,000 all-purpose yards. He may have been the first guy taken in the supplemental draft and has historical value because of that reason, but other than that, his NFL days were pretty forgettable. Now there's plenty of stories of guys who, unlike Al, went into the NFL and ate. We got multiple Hall of Famers, a few guys who are always in trouble, and everything in between. The reasons that guys have entered the supplemental draft vary greatly, with some of the reasoning being pretty damn crazy. If you want to see a video on the craziest stories from the supplemental draft, just let me know below in the comment section. And if y'all like that idea, you already know I got you. Other than that, don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you're brand new. Tons of football content on the channel. Maybe surf around, check some more of it out. My name is FlemLo Raps, and until next time, wham.
I'm no quitter, 'cause I'ma go get her.